Hey everyone.
Yeah.
Hey everyone. Welcome back to an episode of Backbenchers podcast, the official podcast that's featuring Canberra Survivor Season 2. And this episode will be featuring the most recent episode, Season 6. Season 6, Episode 6. Now I'm getting tongue-tied. So, Survivor Canberra, Season 2, Episode 6, the aptly titled Smokes and Mirrors. So while you're here, thank you for joining us online. We are streaming live. Grab a quencher and join the adventure as the backbenchers backbend into who's got the backbone versus who's the backbreaker. Tongue twister, first attempt. Not a bad effort.
Oh, good job.
So my name's Jacinta. You can call me Squin. I am a rookie to this world that is Canberra Survivor and Survivor in general. So thankfully we have Riley here, who is a Survivor expert. How are you, Riley?
So,
Good. A bit sweaty. I've come straight from the basketball court to join you today on the podcast. So racing to the finish line. Lucky you can't smell anything through the live stream. So done you a favor there. But shall we get straight into a recap of this episode? Hello to Ma as well, one of the popular players. Should we get straight into this episode? It was a juicy one, and it was a solid hour and 20-minute episode. And I think every second of content was worth it because it was, to say it was eventful is an understatement. Basically, just to recap episode 5, Banfield and Haley just got voted out. So the episode 6 opens up with a quick recap and some post tribal council interviews. And it was also the first time that the tribe had to stay over and they made it to day 2. There was some early complaints from the likes of Ma about some other players snoring. One of her advice is go to the doctor. And I loved how Nick and Mal, the snoring perpetrators, dubbed themselves the Snorkestra. I thought that was very clever.
That name. Oh, I need that to be their alliance name for the rest of the game now. Like, just Snorkestra constantly coming up. I'd be happy with life.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point, actually. And I suppose when we get deeper into the episode and talk about alliances and strategies and things, because it gets thick in this episode. There was probably some opportunities where they could have called themselves the Snorkestra, or at least like a code word or something to indicate who. Yeah, but we'll get into that. We'll also have the eliminated contestant John join us very, very shortly as well. He would be, of the three of us, the one that would be able to give us the most insight into the situation. But this episode, as we mentioned, it's day 2. There's a tribal merge and the buffs were dropped. And they come together as one as the aptly named Eclipse tribe with a green buff. Ma's suggestion, and the tribe go with it. What did you think of the tribe name, Riley?
I love the tribe name. I thought it was really fun to add a little bit of Spanish to it. Cheers, Ma, for that. I liked it. I thought it was cool, especially bringing in both tribe old names into it. It was clever. It was good.
Very well thought out indeed, trying to bring in the old tribe names. If you were in that situation, Riley, how would you feel about having to pick a tribe name after a merge?
I would be someone who would throw out the randomest suggestions ever. I'd be someone who'd be Team Daniel's Angels or something like that. That would be my tribe name.
That's that's a choice. No, I'm one of those people where I can't think of names, or I can't be witty on cue. So I can't think of that kind of thing. I would never sleep next to a snorer. Absolutely not. That did cross my mind, Ma, actually. But as we see the tribes merge, now named Eclipse with the green buffs, as we mentioned, croissants were provided to celebrate the merge. 2 large trays of croissants are Snorkestra's back for season 3. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Now, like I've labeled Riley, I'm definitely a Survivor rookie, but I know that when something like food and croissants is just willingly handed over to the tribes, it's not always as it seems, right?
There'd be more to it as well. Like, obviously, when they all got together, it got a little hectic between the tribes. I hope the croissants helped with that, making it a lot hectic because it was very entertaining for us as the audience.
Because how much do you feel like having not a lot of food and being out of your comfort zone and being under the stress of not being able to trust people and having to vote someone out kind of influences a lot of behavior and decision making?
Yeah, especially if I feel like the Orange tribe, especially, they didn't really. I don't think they won a reward at all, any food. So like, this is probably their first time eating since the game. Um, yeah, and so, I mean, we saw it in the episode. They kind of were all over the place. So.
Yeah, especially I've still got that throwing and catching challenge in my mind with the bucket and the bean bags. But I digress. I'm sorry, win you. In the words of Nick, it's not win you, it's lose you. He said that, not me. So croissants are given out. Anna and John are very quickly and very easily ready to flip. Anna says she feels insecure and worried about the merge, and James makes a very kind of a very pointed quote, which was probably really great timing, about whether someone is a snake or a rat. Did you pick up on this one, Riley?
I did. Am I surprised from the words of James coming out? No. James is a very straightforward player. Like, if he sees something that's a little iffy, he'll probably mention it and say something. So, that was it was great. It was great. Especially I think Sophie just wasn't expecting any person to be that blunt and straightforward. I mean, no one on the purple had really been very like intense player yet because they haven't had to go to many tribals yet. So she probably wasn't used to someone being very quick and going for it.
Yeah, that's such a good observation, because not soon after, Sophie actually says, it's so evident that it's after the merge, it's just such a different game. So I don't think anyone was wasting any time to try and figure out their alliances. Anna and John trying to flip, just trying to get a head start in, trying to survive, as the name of the game suggests. But at this point, as you said, this is when James actually directly confronts Sophie at the water station to clarify the time when Hayley and Sophie actually went to the sacrifice zone. And I wonder as well, because I definitely see some strengths in the way that James was playing this. He was very direct and basically very directly asked Sophie in front of two others, what did you have? What did Hayley have? And I guess the immediate feedback from the people that were there from that conversation was that they felt like he was playing a little bit too hard. What do you say? Too hard or appropriate for the timing?
I think he's probably on a different time than what the purple tribe was. Especially like he's had to go to so many tribals, and I feel like it's evident in all four of the is it Win players, that all four of them were kind of trying to save themselves, and if that meant putting a target on somebody else, I think all four of them were willing to do that, as shown throughout the entire episode. So I can't fault James for potentially trying to put a target on Sophie's back, especially if he kind of knew Hayley didn't have anything. So I think he's playing for the right speed for him, but in terms of trying to get new allies on his side, I don't think it was probably a good move for him.
Yeah, and that's so true because not soon after, Mal actually warns James that he can be a target if he's going to play that hard. He's going to be an easy target for everyone to try and vote off in the next tribal council. And Nick even poses the question that James needs to kind of show his loyalty if he wants to stick around. John comments saying Apex Predator James thought Sophie would get eaten up when exposed to lie, but Sophie isn't plankton. That's hilarious. Orca hunting season. James had to scramble big time, so wasn't surprised that he was confronting in his approach to Soph, an opportunity to set a target. I mean, and that's great. That's very true. A great opportunity to set a target, but ideally you don't want to set that target on yourself.
Sophie was just really well connected as well. Like, I think she had really good allies on the merged tribe, so I don't think it was helping in any way.
But it probably also allowed James to plant a seed of doubt in the existing Kubadang tribe members that Sophie was aligned with, because she didn't tell anyone. I don't think she told very many people, if anyone, publicly what her sacrifice was and what her advantage would be. And I could understand how, the people she was aligned with, if they didn't know that they would feel betrayed, that they were left, that they didn't know in due time. So, yeah, it was very risky, but certainly caused some drama. It was thoroughly entertaining for us.
I loved it.
Facebook user says, and so proud of Soph for calling him out to his face. She's a strong player and a true underdog. I have to agree. But I am biased because Sophie is also one of my friends. So I will.
Nothing wrong with being biased.
I will agree. And this is also at the point where we already spoke about Anna and John had already admitted they're willing to flip. But Ma also raises some very early concerns about Mal switching, which we later find out those concerns were pretty valid, I think. Ma's been really, really great so far in this season and be able to predict so many things so far ahead and play so many moves ahead. I don't know how she's able to contain all the information simultaneously in her brain.
Read on people. I think she when someone's acting a little iffy compared to what they have been acting in the past, I think she's on them straight away. So
yeah, she's good at holding people accountable in a nice, safe way as well, I think.
Yeah.
And so, as the first time as a merged tribe, they have their first challenge. Anna gives back her individual immunity. Sophie sits out due to the sacrifice zone. And how was the reaction when Dan announced that Sophie was sitting out, Riley?
I think Sophie was the most shocked that he mentioned due to the sacrifice, because I don't think she was expecting Dan to mention that it was for the sacrifice. Basically calling her out in front of the entire tribe, which she was denying all morning. So.
And it's just they're out in the open. It's due to your sacrifice, you have to sit out. And she's like, oh. Sorry, guys, I'll explain later.
Too good.
So in this challenge, Liv tells a story about Canberra's history. And as the story finishes, the players have to run to these stations, answer a question about the same story that was told. So a correct answer, they would get a black rock, and you would have to go and put the rock on your plate with your name. And an incorrect answer, you get a white rock. But the thing with this is all the questions were on separate tables quite far apart. You picked your answer and the rock was done dirty by Teddy Dan. I think that's actually quoted in this episode too. So all the questions are on a bunch of tables spread around the campsite. There's, it's multiple choice. you pick your answer and all the rocks are covered, and you can only open your rock once you get to your plate, and that's when you find out if you're correct or incorrect. So the black rocks are put on your plate because you got a correct answer, white ones are discarded, and it's the first person to get 8 rocks on their plate. So as Liv's telling the story, what's going through your mind, Riley? Because I had my own ideas.
I would probably just be focusing on key things that Liv is talking about. But from the sounds of it, it seemed like it was a really long story. So I don't know how much my small brain would be able to entail. But yeah.
Yeah, there was lots of dates, lots of lots of places named.
Yeah.
Lots of numbers. So I can understand how that would be confusing. If you were in this kind of situation, what would your strategy be to try and get a bit of a head start on everyone?
From watching everybody else, I think I would just see what other people are grabbing. If it's right, then I'll just follow suit. Honestly, I'd just copy everyone else. That would be my strategy.
I think that's fair to say, because I feel like there was a time where, who did I write down? It did look like there was a time, I blanked during the story, Jesus, take the wheel. This coming from Ma, who was actually started this challenge on top. She was leading for a really long time until James started to catch up.
Good. This one's good.
And when you sat through Joseph's storytelling, so I had to get through 10 lives. Listen, I can't argue with that, James. That's just straight up facts. But going into this challenge, we should also point out that there was so much talk going into this challenge about voting against James at the next tribal council, given that he had played so blunt, so like hard, as they put it. And so there was a lot of pressure on him to win this challenge. So all eyes were on James going into this. I did notice that there were probably some people that were maybe started to copy others, like you said, Riley, when talking strategy. I'm not sure if that was intentional or if that just kind of happened, that people at the right place at the right time.
People started working together. I think if everyone was wanting to target James, then the entire old purple tribe should have all started working together.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point, because then it's almost guaranteed. Well, not guaranteed. It's a much better chance that someone other than James is then going to win the individual immunity. And if you were in that situation, say you were in the game and you were part of the previous Kubadang tribe, who would you probably pick to get to win? So there was Nick, Ma, Mal, Sophie, Michael, and I feel like I'm missing one. Joe. So of them, so say you were one of those 6 or you're in that tribe and you thought, right, let's band together and make sure one of us wins to make sure that James doesn't get the idol. Which one of those 6 are you going to back to get the idol, like to protect? Sorry, not the idol.
I'd be more wanting James not to win, so I would pick whoever's the fastest and then just tell them all the answers for them to quickly run and grab and come back. So whoever's the fastest out of those 6. I don't know who it is, but...
Well, it definitely wasn't Joe, because she kept saying how a bra was holding her back, so... Not on Joe.
My favorite was Mel still carrying around her bag with a super idol in it. It was so good. And Dan even commented and going, Mel's still protecting that bag.
Yeah, I definitely weighed it down, I think, mentally and physically in that challenge, holding that bag, very protective of that super idol. I mean, I understandably protective of having a super idol in your buried at the bottom of your bag, and even the tactical change of going from one jacket to the other raincoat when it started to get really heavy with rain, and she's like, she has to go hide so no one can see the super giant gold super idol at the bottom of her bag. But
Scully now.
Yeah. But Joe and Mel with the handicaps of wearing the wrong bra and having to carry a super idol definitely didn't work in their favor.
No.
So all things aside, it was a very close race. We did start to see Ma and Michael work together. John was trying to like get in there as well and get some right answers on his side. But in the end, it was James that won. Which, look, you can't write a better script for this, right?
I'm happy. I'm happy. It's not the easy vote. So I was quite happy James won, especially how many people were so mad. I mean, straight after Michael goes to the screen and basically was like, this was the one thing that should have happened.
Yeah. I feel like, oh yeah, his quote was worst case scenario.
And then like 5 seconds after, he was like, and he heard that.
Yeah. I don't think anyone had any cares left to give at the end of that when they were like, oh, James is playing so hard. That's right. We're going to get him. And they're like, oh, well, crap. Now James won. What are we going to do now? It just put everyone into a spin. And I really hope that when the makers of Survivor just watch this unfold in front of them, like organically, they must have just been cheering, knowing like how good an outcome and how good a content was going to come out of this. So thank you, Survivor gods, for providing this narrative. And then
James to be like so much more free as well. Like him having immunity, he could kind of do whatever he wanted. So it was even more fun.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he could play as hard as fast as he wanted now that he was immune. He could really put a cat amongst the pigeons. He's commented here, Captain Ahab coming with an armada to harpoon the orca, but the apex predator destroying everyone's agenda. Do you have any decoding on that, Riley? Any insights on that comment?
Everyone's referring to James as the orca. So I think that's kind of what it means.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe when John jumps on, he can give us a bit more insight into the cryptic messages of the orca and the apex. So anyway, James wins. He chooses Anna to go to the sacrifice zone. And then Anna chooses Mal and they go to the sacrifice zone together. Anna proposes a big move in her words, talks about loyalties with Mal, but Mal is worried about being a sellout and jumping too soon to the other side or being then a threat later because he's so social with everyone else. Are these some valid concerns, Riley?
I mean, he's kind of already shown interest in potentially flipping, especially from the conversation between him and Anna at the sacrifice. I think he's tempted to because he knows that like later on he's seen as a threat in his old tribe that they could easily target him down the road. So I think it's fair for him to like at least weigh up the options.
Like, do you feel like there's any? Because I kind of wondered, considering Mal had pretty strong alliances with Sophie and Nick and Ma from the very start, and now they've all made the merge together. I did wonder what else was going through Mal's mind for him to start about flipping to form alliances with the remaining Windu tribe. Yeah, do you think any other than his fear of being voted out later for being too social, do you think there was any other threat around Mal sticking with his original purple tribe?
He just didn't feel like he fitted in as much as others. That's the only other thing that I can think. Like, he just didn't feel like he was in the crowd as much as other people might have been. Yeah.
I feel like that's definitely been a recurring theme through this season so far. Sometimes the decision to vote someone out isn't necessarily strategic past the fact that, they're not really gelling with everyone else. So, or they haven't made any strong connections socially or otherwise with other people. So then that kind of made someone an easy target to be voted out. And so Mal takes the ultimate sacrifice, picks draw 4, and gets one auto vote against to be able to cancel a vote later. Meanwhile, at the tribe, Michael wanted to vote for James because he, as we said, he finds himself in the worst case scenario, but also mentions that he's still got his legacy idol to play. James then confronts, I think it was Nick, and says, "There's a snitch in your tribe." So again, planting those seeds of doubt against that alliance of the Kubadang tribe. But Anna, again, says how she's really ready to flip and vote for anyone against Orange because she was annoyed that she wasn't heard in the last tribe. Well, if you were Anna in that situation, are you just going for whoever, especially because she's got an idol?
If I was Anna, yes. But also, I think her reasoning isn't as valid. Controversial here, but I think like she's gone to Mel so many times, and Mel has constantly kind of been like, okay, cool, you voted me. Okay, cool, you voted me again. And like she did it again, and like Mel's like, this is like a constant thing. You keep on voting me. Whereas like Anna didn't get her way once, and she's like, I'm not with anyone on my tribe. So I think Anna's a really smart player, and I think it's beneficial to her to not work with her old tribe. But I think the reasoning behind it, I think it's just for her game, but like not because of the reasoning why she gave it.
And then we see a little bit later how much Anna and James are speaking to each other, trying to strategize, you know, how to put the votes against the other people from their previous tribe, trying to target Mel. And James talks about getting a split minority vote and trying to flush out the super idol from Mel. Now, I'm going to admit, when it started to get to this part of the strategizing, I started to get really super confused, like I'm watching Avengers Endgame again, because like
great.
There was just
connection.
like so many storylines and sub storylines, and it was like that meme from the guy of like Always Sunny in Philadelphia, how he's got like that big cork board with all the lines going everywhere, trying to. I just couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah.
What were your main takeaways from all of those chats?
But everyone had like a power or something. I don't know. It was whack. It was like Mel has the super idol. Anna doesn't have the super idol. She just has a normal idol, and she showed it to everyone. Michael has the legacy idol. Sophie actually has something from the sacrifice that people now know about. Like, it just was so confusing. Joe's running around everywhere. James is throwing out people's names. Yeah, it was fun to watch, but it was very confusing. I would agree.
Yeah, and in preparation for this episode, already like a really decent length episode, I had to pause it a lot and try and write down, okay, now this person's doing this, and then this person's doing this. And then, but then wasn't this person doing this? So some of the things I wrote down were things like, you know, Anna and James were going for Mel to flush out the super idol, but then they were going to try and target John, so it's kind of off them, and then they won't have to play. Then Anna won't have to play her idol too soon. Then Mel goes to approach John to try and get themselves out of the situation. And then all of a sudden, James is like, you know what? Let's go for Michael. I thought that was a pretty big power move considering going into the merge, Windu didn't have the advantage in numbers. But now the fact that James has immunity, Anna has an idol, Mel has a super idol. Don't worry, Squint, I'll say honest. Yes. Nick, you looked cool, calm, and collected, so you didn't fool me. I feel like this was actually a really, really good idea. Anna was playing 4D chess. Don't bring up chess again with me, Ma. You know, I can't even play regular chess. I thought that James, when he proposed the idea of going for Michael and then pushing for 2 minority votes, was actually pretty smart. What did you think?
I agree. I think if all this chaotic stuff was happening for the Windu people, it was a good chance for them to, especially with the powers they had, they could easily like kind of save all four of them and get someone else out. Um, I mean, yeah, I think they had potential to easily stick with each other and target one of the purples.
Especially when you have the collateral of all the different idols at play as well. But I guess when they were targeting Michael, they didn't consider that he had the legacy idol to play either. So in the meantime, some of the other strat chats, as Nick was saying, going on was Anna was telling James about Mal's safety with an out power, but she's starting to equally get as frustrated with James feeling like she's not being heard again. And especially when James starts to suggest that she plays her idol. And I feel like that again was James playing very, very smart, where he was kind of starting to plant seeds of doubt, because that was the first time that he brought up Anna playing her idol, when kind of naturally, I don't think her name was really passed around for the fact that she had an idol. But then, as we soon later see, she plays it. Meanwhile, Mal and Nick are making moves to vote out Michael. Nick resides to the fact that, you know what, we've merged. Let's just have some fun. Alliances are broken. Let's go for Michael. Nick shakes on this. They also strategically, turn their back so no one can see that they're shaking hands. And immediately, Nick goes to tell Michael about the plans to vote him out. What do you make of this behavior, Riley?
Still very confused. I'm still on the journey. I'm still getting through it. I still don't know what people voted. Like, I am still at that point where I'm still trying to figure out what people were thinking and going through. Going back to the Anna and James, I think Anna is fair to having concerns and not hearing out, especially after the last vote. It does seem a little bit, I don't know, just the interaction between James and Anna, it did very seem like this is what we're doing, whether you like it or not. So I get Anna wanting to kind of get her voice out and get heard a little bit more. Yeah. And then with the whole Malcolm and Nick, I think it's fun to kind of be like, let's start this off with a bang. Like, we just merged. Let's kind of have some fun with this. I'm all for it. Like, I'm all for fun play.
And if you're
It's
Nick,
entertaining for us.
Oh yeah, it was super entertaining for us because there's just so much drama, so great to keep up with. But if you're Nick and you've just shaken hands with Mal because now you've got this new idea, actually maybe we could go for Michael and really stir things up. Are you going to tell Michael though, or are you going to keep that to yourself?
Depends if I trust the people who I told that to, that they wouldn't go back to Michael to throw me under the bus. Yeah. I'd probably keep my mouth shut for now and see what happens.
Yeah, sit on the secret for a little bit longer. Yeah. So anyway, there's a lot more chats that happen. We won't go by the play-by-play because we want to get John on to give us some more insight. But basically, we go into tribal council. There are a lot of tensions, understandably. And in the most eventful and unorthodox tribal council in my limited Survivor history that I've seen, Michael, Anna, Nick, and Sophie all play their idol, which means that any votes against them are not going to be counted. And one of the highlights of the tribal council is that Anna makes it very clear she's deciding to play her idol because she made the decision for herself and she's playing for herself and she's not letting anyone else influence her decision. So I'm really glad she took that opportunity to advocate for herself and say her piece. Sophie fesses up and she's like, oh yeah, I'll play my expiry idol. All right, you got me. When the voting goes 3 to Michael, 3 to Mel, and 1 to Anna and 1 to John, or 1 to Anna and 2 to John. But because Mel's got the super idol, Mel technically gets voted out, but because she's got the super idol, which means you can play it after the votes are cast and announced, She stays, so that means, unfortunately, John, by default of 5 idols, means that he is the next player to be eliminated from Survivor Canberra Season 2.
Safety without power.
All right, see, look, listen, now, give me a rundown of this safety without power, because I don't know what that means.
So Malcolm obviously had his safety without power, meaning he could leave tribal council and not vote. So he played it before they went to vote. So he left and was immune, and then all the idols started coming up. So.
I see. That is correct. That is also what happens. Yeah. See, there's so much detail in this one tribal council.
So much. I know. There's going to be something that we've missed completely.
So that is a basic wrap. What did I write here? Burnt bridges. So they made a point about, Dan made a really good point. 10 plays and 7 immune. Yes. Thank you, Josh, for your quick maths. Because my math skills had escaped me by that point. All of my executive functioning went out the window after trying to figure out what was going on, because there was a lot. But Dan did make the good point about, have you burned enough bridges? Joe and I were sitting there trying not to draw attention to it ourselves. Smart move, ladies. Yeah, Dan made the good point about, have you burnt your bridges by this very eventful tribal council? Are you going to be able to retain them, or do you have to make new ones, essentially? John basically said he didn't even have a knife at the gunfight. He had a plastic spoon, which I thought was very funny, but a little bit depressing as well. So final thoughts on the episode before we grab John to join us, Riley?
Hectic. I always love merge because stuff happens, and it was just really good. It was a really good merge episode, I would say. However, I am so sad that John went, because I feel like he could have gone so far, but due to circumstances of everyone else's playing, it just led to him sadly going by default.
Yeah, I think it's a really unfortunate consequence of a whole lot of messiness. And unfortunately, John fell victim of the crossfire of idols, essentially.
Yeah.
So let's get him on to, ask him a bunch of questions. John himself, the mayor of Ponderosa. You are caressing a glass of red wine, I see, in your mansion.
I think Dan upgraded the budget for Survivor Canberra in season 2, so the jury villa was quite big.
And if you're getting paid per episode and you got eliminated just after the merge, I'm guessing the pay was good.
Enough to buy wine.
Enough to buy wine. The essentials only.
Was it the cheap wine or top shelf?
I actually can't remember. I think it's a Barossa Shiraz.
No, not a $4 Audi. Ma has hopefully John will invite you to his sweet pad one day.
One day, Ma.
One day. So John, we've just recapped what was a very eventful episode. How did we go covering the important details?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot going on. So I think you guys did really well. I think the merge vote is, traditionally always very chaotic, because especially in times when you don't have swaps, because you have, 2 tribes coming together, a lot, more new relationships that are, suddenly forming, and then trying to navigate the best path forward for you. But yeah, as you said, all the various advantages from sacrifice made it even more complex than normal. Yeah. Did you want me to sort of explain how I saw things were going down that vote?
Yeah, please. Because I'm gonna have to watch the episode again to properly understand it.
Yeah. So I think I'll take you back to the last episode when Hayley went out. we kind of knew that we would be merging down 6-4 in the numbers. So, and I thought, that's actually okay as long as we're a united 4. So I don't know if you guys have seen David vs Goliath, but the Davids came into the merge down the numbers, but they're all united and they all, brought together their superpower advantages, and they kind of used that to flip the switch on the majority. So I really wanted the 4 of us just to go because I knew that if it's 6, the reason why I pushed to go Hayley out rather than James is I knew that if we're 6-4 down, the Kubernetes people just naturally are going to target a win you person first. Making it from 6-4 to 5-4 is a bit dicey because it's easy for people to flip, whereas going from 6-4 to 6-3 gives you a lot more room to maneuver moving forward. And I knew, Mel had the super idol, Anna had the idol, and so I wanted James there as, a big threat, big juicy threat for people to target, and then I would be safe. Whereas, as you can see, Hayley, she's so, lovely. She's so social. Everyone wants to work with her. So, I kind of needed James there as that shield. But yeah, I suggested we get 4 of us on Hayley. So Anna wanted me, her, and James to do a split vote, and on Mel and Hayley, and to flush the super idol. But it was really difficult to explain to her, I guess, how the split vote numbers work, because we didn't have enough numbers to properly split, especially against the super idol, which you can play after the vote. And so, because you need at least, if you want to split, you need at least 4 rather than a group of 3, because otherwise Mel and Hayley can go together and they can decide, we want to vote out James, we want to vote out John, and then, our split vote fails because Mel's got the super idol. So yeah, I was trying to, I felt like I was kind of like George explaining to Stevie, you don't have the numbers to split. We should just all pile on Hayley. We're united 4 going to the merge, and we have a super idol. So there's no way we can lose if we're united and we have a super idol, because the super idol is very, very almost impossible to play around. But that didn't happen. Anna voted for Mel for the 3rd time in 4 votes. So then Mel couldn't work with Anna, and then I found it hard to work Anna because she was so stubborn and she was kind of insisting, even though everyone else in the tribe thought it was a baddie, I was like, it's my way or the highway. And so I think we were very fractured going in, but I wasn't too worried because I thought I could, I'm a very social player. So I thought, I'm going to go in, I'm going to form relationships with all the Kubernetes people, try to present myself as someone like a great ally they can use to, achieve their strategic aims. And I felt I had a really good relationship with probably everyone except Sophie, only because Sophie went home overnight, whereas the rest of us weren't from Canberra, so we camped. And we weren't allowed to strategize, but you kind of, when you just chill, you chat, you kind of form the vibes and you kind of work out who you want to work with. So yeah, I thought I had really good relationships with everyone, and as you can probably see from the vote, everyone was trying to save me, even though it just made no logical sense to save me. James was maybe a bit in Sophie's words, a bit less tactful.
Yeah.
I think that that made him a big target, and I thought I was okay, and we thought everyone kind of knew James is going. We just have to stop him winning mini. So if you actually watch back the episode, you actually see that we realized that James and Michael were out in front, and then I knew it was going to be me. So I actually followed Michael around for the rest of the challenge, and I told him all the answers. And they were actually locked at 7-all, but then Michael forgot where the 8th table was, and he ran back to one he'd already gone to. I think that's also
so
why
you're saying.
Yeah,
what you're saying
that
is
was
Michael's
angry. But yes, and so as soon as James won, I thought, I'm fucked.
Oh.
I was like, Mel's got the super idol, Anne's got the idol, James got the necklace. I'm the obvious vote. But then I was talking around to everyone. Everyone was kind of telling me, no, we really want to work with you. Some people let's target Michael. Some people let's target Malcolm. And I thought, surely they're just like pulling the wool over my eyes, and like they're just saying that to make me feel comfortable, but like surely they're just voting me because like it's obvious. And so it was actually interesting for me watching the episode that literally everyone in purple was trying to save me, and the only person that wanted to was Anna.
Like from the episode that everyone wanted to work with you a long time, like even replace Malcolm with you in their alliance. So like you did really well to get in there in such a short amount of time.
Because I knew that Kubadang hadn't gone to as many tribals as we had, so there was still like a relatively big mass. But I knew there's always that behind the scenes there's always like I guess like politics in any group, and some people are always waiting to make a move. So you saw from the very first episode, Mar is like, I really want to take out Malcolm. I really want to take out Malcolm, and she's dying to do that. So just like even forming, like realizing, all right, take me. Like I can help you take out Malcolm. And then like Malcolm, I think like kind of knew like towards the end that they would probably cut him. So he's like, I'll grab Anna, I'll grab John, let's work together, let's take out one of them. So I think I was just presenting myself as a number that they could use to get to further their end game strategies. And I honestly feel like if there was any other situation, I think I would have been okay. And especially if James didn't win immunity and he went home that episode, I think if it was 6-3, all the idols are flushed, I think they would have tried to pick me up and make the moves next episode. But I feel like the numbers were definitely hitting. Like Ma had to kind of rally the numbers. So me, Michael, her, Mel were definitely all ready to vote Malcolm. Maybe Sophie and Joe as well. And Malcolm was getting a penalty vote because of his sacrifice. So he would have we would have easily had the numbers. But I think with how chaotic everything got, he got a bit spooked, which is good on Malcolm for reading the vibes. It didn't help that James was going around whispering to everyone as well when James had told Malcolm they're voting Michael together. So I think Malcolm got spooked, and as soon as Malcolm got spooked, I was like, yeah, this isn't gonna go well for me. So that's why I stood up and I tried to target Nick. And the thing is, like, Nick was someone I actually did want to work with as well, but I knew because at that point, like, people weren't very good at keeping secrets of who had what. Everyone knew what everyone kind of had, and I knew Nick didn't get anything from sacrifice because Anna got the idol. So I kind of just targeted Nick because I thought he's working with Malcolm to vote at Michael. Like, let's throw the target Nick. He definitely doesn't have anything. And then idol, and so it turns out each tribe had a legacy idol. So that was the Love Rocks quest. So Michael got the Kubadang Love Rock, but we knew like we found the first round of rocks. Joseph got booted out with a rock, so there were only 2 rounds left. But what you don't see is that due to a combination of things, so we knew it was like on this massive mountain, so it was quite hard for Hayley to walk up and down with her injury. It started raining, and then we're also quite behind on time. So we actually, after the Joseph boot, we knew didn't get to go back to our tribe to look for the rest of the Love Rocks because we kind of just stayed around the tribal challenge zones to make it easier. So we never got to find our Love Rocks. So we never got to no one we knew got to find our legacy idol. So they rehid that legacy idol at the challenge, which I did not know. And I think when
did you have one of the Love Rocks then? Did you have one of the Love Rocks?
No, I didn't, but I think like the others would have found it. I presume. So someone on Win U would have had a legacy idol. And either they played on me, or even if they don't, like at least Nick doesn't have it. But yeah, and as soon as Nick stood up, I'm just like, yeah, because I think like Dan had already said, like, it's time to vote. Malcolm stood up, played the safety without power. Then I stood up again, and I'm like, and they said like it's time to vote for the 3rd time, and I thought, oh yeah, I think if I had more time, I would have then targeted Joe and got Mel to vote, put like 2 votes. Me and Mel put 2 votes on Joe because she also hadn't gone to sacrifice because Yeah, because we were the only ones who hadn't gone to sacrifice, because at the merge they reset it so people got to go twice. But then, like, if you kind of look at how we were seated, I was quite far from Mel, and it just wasn't enough time to come up with like a plan C in that tribal.
It's the iconic line of being like, "I did not consent to voting."
I know. It was rough. And so yeah, I think I knew the votes were coming to me, and it felt like it just felt very deflating. At that point, just sitting through the tribal going, yeah.
But what an iconic vote out to get out on though. Like, if I would have wanted to go, I would have wanted to go with 7 other people immune at my vote out. So
yeah. And I think like I think sometimes it also makes it easier to get over because like after the shock of the vote, I was like, what the fuck's happening? And then like I think I got over it quite quickly because like it's like, what can you do? And I definitely like my goal into the game because like as I said in my exit confessional, like I think I was the only one that said, to when Colleen was asking what's your goal, like I'm the only one that didn't say my goal is to win because I kind of knew as I said, there's only one winner, there's 15 losers. So if you kind of say your goal is to win, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure, I guess. So my goal was just to have fun. And I thought, like, it is what it is. I guess that's a fun way to go out. And, I'm now the mayor of Ponderosa. So, I definitely, because I know in some seasons, both in Real Survivor and in LRGs, like, I think when the mayor of Ponderosa, like, they have they kind of set the tone for how Ponderosa and the jury works. And, if you have someone really bitter, like then it can get quite dark. So I kind of just wanted to, and this is like the first vote in the morning. So this is like, at 8 a.m. So if you're going to be bitter, it's a really long time to be bitter and angry for. So I thought, let's just have fun. And you might see the next few episodes when I'm on the jury, they get up to a bit of mischief.
Yes, looking forward to that. When at least you get to come back in some way into the game where you're still on the jury, so you can still have a little bit of influence. But yeah, what was that feeling like when the writing was on the wall and you're like, it's me, like I'm going?
Yeah. Well, I think like that whole episode, like as soon as James won like immunity, I thought like, it's definitely me. Like there's just like no way it isn't. And like when Haley has that conversational before when she's like, is everyone stupid? Like why am I still in it? Like, when everyone was like really want to work with me and like, we're not gonna vote you out, we really want to work with you. Let's like vote out a purple instead. I'm like, why? I thought the whole time like I was done, but I was like, I never want to just like just accept your fate and just go out like, with a sad fizzle. So I just hustled so hard, running from like one group of people to another. And even in the tribe, as you saw, like every time, like, nope, I'm gonna try to do something, even though it probably won't work. But again, like I knew it was me, but I didn't want to like leave without trying like every last possible thing I could do.
No regrets.
No.
That's great.
So some of the questions that were submitted online for yourself. First of all, Mayor of Ponderosa, Ma has appropriately suggested you change that to King of Ponderosa.
How do I do that?
I don't know. I don't know if you can now, but we'll know for next time. We'll know you're the king.
Oh wait, I think I can. Oh, I can change it.
Have a crack. And in the meantime, yes, there were some questions for you submitted on Instagram. There we go. Upgrade yourself to the king that you are, John.
I was almost tempted to write Khan of Ponderosa because according to Mark, Khan means king in Arabic.
Okay. Okay, Eclipse. How many people have joked to you about being on the blue tribe?
I get so much shit about it from like literally everyone like who knows me. It's like why are you on the blue tribe, John? So like I was originally, because I think Dan like we played in March. I think Dan had already done the cast by September, so I wasn't originally on the cast. I was just coming to crew because like the LRG community is, especially like Survivor Canberra has such a like fun small community that's really fun. So I kind of wanted to go over there, help create the season. But then I got quite a late call out because someone dropped out. They may be on a future season, but of Canberra Survivor. But yeah, so I think Simon and I were the male alternates. I think there were a lot of female alternates, but I'm not sure who. So I didn't have like time to go like shopping, I think, and I don't know anything in orange. Like none of my wardrobe is orange, so I had to go to, I think it was H&M, and I kind of just got like the running jacket. I thought, oh yeah, I'll just wear the running jacket and that'll be my orange. But then it was really hot. And so I didn't want to run in the running jacket, which meant I had the blue polo underneath. But yeah, I've had a lot of shit from it.
Too good though.
Even for me, in the first episode of this podcast, I jumped on. I was like, John, why are you playing for the Blue Tribe? And Milo did, say, look, sometimes you come prepared for one thing and you get thrown into the game and you're not prepared for your tribe colors. So that's fair. That's fair. Interesting that you mentioned you filled in for someone that will perhaps be in a future Survivor Canberra series. So let's be interesting to see. We'll keep an eye out for when the next season drops. But this season already has delivered more and more. So season 3 has a lot to live up to, I think. But another question on Instagram, would you play again?
Oh, always. I think like I think like for me, yeah, Survivor's fun. I think like whether even if I was first boot and it was like tragic, I'd still come back to play because yeah, I love Survivor and I love the Survivor Canberra community. So yeah, I don't wallow over like losing for very long.
And now I was obsessed with you when I learned that you're a forensic psychiatrist. Did you find any of your skills as a forensic psychiatrist came in handy playing Survivor Canberra?
Yeah. So first off, like I didn't tell anyone I was.
No, you didn't. You did. That was awesome.
What they don't show, they don't super show early on in episode 1, but instantly, like when we use all running for the Love Rocks, instantly Simon and Mel are like both like independently going, we don't trust Anna because she's a psychology student and she's going to psychoanalyze us. And I felt so bad for her because I think she was like a second-year psychology student, and I think most of like the undergrad psychology is like stats and research and stuff. And I thought, yeah, I'm not going to say I'm a psychiatrist. So I'm more like I always say with Survivor, like you never like lie about personal stuff because it's hard to like maintain. But so I kind of told just a tiny lie where I said I was working on a rehab unit, which I was at that time, but it was like a mental health rehab unit. So like the stuff I was talking about, like I wasn't lying. I just kind of lied about my job title. But in general, yeah, I think it always helps because at the end of the day, Survivor's a very social game. It's part of my job as a psychiatrist. You're talking to people, you're getting to know them, and I think as a psychiatrist, I think you kind of get to understand them a bit more, what their motivations are. So like you can like present yourself differently to different people, and like say you present your pitch differently to different people. So you if you wanted to present a very strategic kind of thing, like you could do it to a super fan like Ma and Michael and stuff, but you'd have to pitch differently to someone who's kind of newer to Survivor, like someone like Joe, like where it's kind of more about the vibes and fun, like I want to work with you, rather than like heavy strategic content that might go over our head. So I think like kind of being able to read people and reading yourself and kind of knowing what the dynamic is going to be helps. And I think it did help connect with everyone, because as you can see, like you probably didn't see as much on pre-merge, but I felt I was actually the most socially connected. Like I got through every round getting my target out. I never received a single vote pre-merge, and I was the only winning person for that to be. And yeah, like you don't see it, but Haley and I, like the instant we got to the drive, but we were like instantly clicked. And yes, I think like I guess like party rocks connecting with people quickly is probably helps. It didn't help me find advantages or win challenges, but it would have been more helpful.
But you also like didn't get any votes, so.
You never got to go to the sacrifice?
Sorry?
You never got to go to like the sacrifice or anything?
Was I sad I never got to go to sacrifice? Yeah. To be honest, like Joe and I, like when we got to merge, we were like, oh, we're the only two who haven't been to sacrifice. We finally get to go. Like we're the only two like left, and it was the last round of sacrifice. So we kind of thought, surely it's us. And then they're like, no, you can pick people who aren't John and Joe, and we're just like, and like, and sometimes I just kind of wonder, like, if I had gone to sacrifice that round, like, and I could have, I feel like I could have begged to join, going like, it's definitely me. I really need this like advantage, and maybe like, you know, like I only got 2 votes. If I could have cancelled one of them, like, you know, probably could have like brought in Mel and tried to like, you know, take up Joe, or like done something with it. But you know, it is what it is.
Why do you feel like Joe wasn't a target in all of the myriad of conversations that were happening?
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, if you look like you kind of like break it down like after the season when you watch it over, you're like, I guess like Joe could have been like, you know, was also someone who didn't have advantages. So you know, maybe I should have like openly targeted her. But I guess for me, like I'm the default boot, and like, so I basically need purple people to flip to vote someone out, and I just didn't feel like anyone was going to flip to vote out Joe, because Joe's like a very loyal, you know, she's not like she's quite new to Survivor, so she's not like a strategic threat, but she was very she's very like, yeah, very very lovely person, very loyal. So I think like you know, she's some people would want to take further, and I thought, if I'm going to make my pitch to Survive, I'm going to say, you know, you guys have your like Cold War going on, you know, Marv versus Malcolm, like use me to like get what you need. Whereas if I said, what do we got at Joe? And then they might, I just worried they might be like, why Joe? And I think like it was easier to say like, this can be your big move. Use me, make a move, get your threats out.
Interesting. I don't think, like to my mind anyway, you always notice on Survivor, whether it's Australian Survivor or Survivor Canberra, that people, like, I guess you always see like the heroes and villains in a sense where people are being the dominant personalities trying to make the moves, and then are very active in like trying to make their alliances and strategize, and very active in the planning parts. But then there are also the people, like I never thought of it to be a person where you could be like, actually, while you guys are making the moves, let me go and work some magic for you. Really getting someone, if you can, on side, and then kind of being passively involved with some of the strategizing, but almost removing yourself from it a little bit.
Yeah. And I think like, especially with like modern Survivor, with a few exceptions, like unless you're like George or something, like usually you don't want to make yourself like Survivor's all about timing, and often like it's about kind of ensuring you have the resources to, you know, navigate to the end game and set yourself up to make them big moves later on without making them like too early and getting the threat, but and because then you just go next. But I think like in my situation, it was kind of like survival mode because you had to do whatever it took to survive that vote, which, you know, I didn't do.
And so now you've had enough time you played the game. You've had enough time to reflect before watching yourself on YouTube. Which, like, I mean, how confronting is it to watch yourself on YouTube? Were you worried that you would perhaps be cancelled for any reason?
I mean, in hindsight, maybe. Like, I did. This wasn't on camera. I did make a comment that was like, very. So, my running jacket, because that's not waterproof at all. And when it started pouring, like, I was just as like as crazy as bad because it went straight through. And so when we both lost early in the eating challenge, they were getting the barbecue ready for like the merge feast, which was like sausages and stuff. And both Banford and I were at the barbecue, kind of like trying to heat up, but we were like just shaking like this. And I kind of made a very like cancelable joke where I said, "Oh, maybe we can be the Michael J. Fox Alliance." So it's probably a good thing that you get put on camera.
Oh, Judd.
But no, like I said in my pre-game interview that I wanted to be a villain, so I was just bitching about all my like tribe mates on camera. Even Haley, who like was my number one, and I was my number one. I used to wanted to have a bit of fun with it. Yeah.
Sly comment.
I mean, if you weren't cancelled before, you might get cancelled now that you confess that. Yes, Nick, are you looking at yourself cancelled now?
Yeah. Nick's gonna cancel me like he legacy idled me out of the game.
Nick, your timing is perfect as always. That was a good call. Good call. And so you said that you wanted to go in playing as a bit of a villain. Do you feel like you could have been even more villainous than what you were?
Well, I mean, I thought I was villainous in that, like, I took it, like, because it wasn't obvious to the camera, but like, I took out my number one, like, right before the pre-merge. Like, and I adore Haley, but I knew that the purple tribe would adore Haley too, and I kind of needed James there as a more, abrasive threat to get the target.
And
but maybe I should have kept Haley because Haley couldn't run to all those stations and win immunity. So who knows?
Well.
I did think
keep
that.
the injured.
Yeah. Would she just be on the bench for that, or would she just kind of, have to admit defeat? Like, what would happen in that situation if you can't run in a running challenge?
Wasn't it on a hill? Like, she could roll.
Yeah, it was at the bottom of the hill. So like, it was the same hill that we used for the. Do you know that challenge, with the sandbags, like that you're carrying and running up the hill? It was the same hill that they used for that. So it would not have been fun.
That looked horrible.
Yeah,
that looked like torture. I would have like quit like straight away.
Yeah, that didn't seem like a good time at all, especially anytime someone dropped out, you have to then carry their weight as well. I mean, for me personally, I think I'd still take that over any eating challenge ever.
Like, as people know me, I'm a big foodie, so like I can like eat whatever. And like I was ever kind of sad I didn't get to do the jelly noises because I think I would have enjoyed that. But no, I if you actually watch the episode, I thought like I didn't. And that's my fault. I didn't quite understand the instruction. I thought we were competing in tribes. So when like you'll see that like when the last person in my tribe ate the sardines, I thought, oh shit, I've lost. So I just throw it at the back, and I didn't realize I could have kept continuing.
Oh my word! So is there anything you would change? Anything? Any highlights, lowlights? Give us an overview of some reflections on your time of Survivor Canberra season 2.
Yeah. I mean, maybe being on the purple tribe that won challenges probably would have helped, especially because they got along with like all the Kubadang people, and so they would have been really fun to play with. But it's also fun, being on Lose You, and because it gets like. At the end of the day, the fun, like, I find the most fun part is the strategizing, going to tribal. So, I guess I get to do a lot of that. So, no, like, I still had a great time, even if I got advantage getting down.
And even if you got to be in the purple tribe, at least blue's closer to purple than orange, right?
Definitely. Like, I could have been like Mal, where the two that didn't get the memo and got like sort of purple.
Sorry, like I just had to get that little stab in there before we wrap up, John. But before we wrap up tonight's Backbenchers episode, Riley, any final thoughts, feelings, questions, insights?
I'm just glad that I was here for this podcast because it was a great episode to cover. I loved it. It was great. Great episode overall. Great tribal council. Great immunity. Overall, great episode.
Yeah, very fun episode.
Yeah, I totally agree. Great episode. It was almost like watching your favorite sport, and it was like the grand final.
Yeah.
But it's only the quarterfinal because, you know, everyone ended up turning on each other. We had the idols at dawn and the immunity at dawn kind of face off. I'm really, really excited to see how this sets up the relationships and dynamics and conversations for the next episode.
Yeah, I think the cool thing is that, I mean, not cool for me, but for everyone else, that nearly all the advantages got flushed at that merge. So the only two things left in the game are Mars steal a vote and Mal's cancel a vote. So I guess that could be more about like the dynamics and the politicking and less about how to navigate around advantages. So yeah, it'd be fun.
And good, Riley has made a great point that obviously not out loud, but telepathically, that every Backbenchers episode we give out gold, silver, and bronze medal for this episode. So Riley, medals, woo! Thank you, Facebook user.
I don't know who that was, but
appreciate it. Appreciate that you've both remembered. Riley, do you want to take us away and go through your medals?
Okay. I'll start with gold first. I give my gold to James. I think James had a cracker of an episode. He was thoroughly entertaining. He won the immunity when he needed to. And I think he's probably the biggest stirrer for all the chaos that happened this episode. And I am all supporting fun, chaotic players. So gold for James. Silver, I'm going to give it to Sophie, just for her fake out with her sacrifice, denying it all and then suddenly getting called out of it at the challenge. I just thought it was a really fun time for Sophie, especially with James constantly questioning her, and she like didn't even like hesitate with denying it. Like she was just like, no, Haley went home with it. And then my bronze, I'm going to give it to John. Not just because he's here, but because I think he did really well with getting in with the purple tribe with such a short amount of time. Even though he went home, like if it wasn't for all the other idols and all the extra powers, I think he would have gone through this tribal with no votes.
Interesting. So, John, do you give medals too, or is it just me and Riley? I can't remember.
I don't think I'll give my gold and silver to Dan and Liv.
There you go. Good choice. Good choice.
You're gonna say yourself.
Yeah. Give yourself a bronze at least.
Yes, send the medals my way.
Yeah. This was really, really tricky, this episode, to give out the medals. I'm going to start with bronze first. Bronze, I'm actually going to give it to Jo, because amidst the chaos, she managed to come out unscathed. Like, she managed to not even be part of the conversations. She did the Homer Simpson in the bush, stayed out of it. And look, it probably worked in her favor. Props for Jo. So she gets my bronze. Silver is actually going to go to Anna. So Anna, I feel like she was really going through it this episode. Her strategizing was really good, but then she was obviously faced with some conflicting ideas, and she came out on top with playing her idol for her under her own circumstances and able to advocate for herself in front of the tribe, which I thought was very admirable. So she gets a silver. And I think I'm going to agree, Riley. I think James is going to get the gold, because he did play a really hard, like a fast game, like a really confronting game, I guess, that the purple tribe weren't really used to. But look, just the way that he kind of happened to plant so many different seeds of doubt, really get things stirred up, really make it fun and entertaining. I thought that was really, really great. And I just don't know. I just don't have that part in my brain of being able to strategize in a way that some of these players can. So top stuff, James. Hey, double whammy, gold medals. Don't let the weight of those gold medals weigh you down, mate. You power on through.
I'm sure he's proud of this. So.
Otherwise, I think that will wrap up this episode of Backbenchers podcast. Thank you very much, Riley, for jumping on. Thank you very much, King of Ponderosa, John. Glad you could find time and a comfortable spot in your mansion with your red wine to join us.
Who will be the next to join in this mansion? Actually, who do you guys think will be the next to go?
Good question.
Ooh.
I mean, I think there's probably a bit of a target on Mal's back now because it's probably a bit more exposed that he's so quick to flip. I would say I think either Anna or Mal may be targeted.
Same names I was thinking.
Yeah.
Or James. Or James, if he doesn't win immunity, he could have a big target on his back.
Oh, yeah, of course. Because, yeah, I mean, he was already targeted and then he won and that made him even less popular. So, yeah, it would have to be James.
Yes, Friday to find out.
Yeah, that's right. So tune in next week. Survivor Canberra Season 2, Episode 7 will be up on YouTube on next Friday night. So make sure you tune in or catch up, especially in time for the next Backbenchers episode, which will be next Tuesday around 9:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time as well. But Riley, John, it's been an absolute pleasure. We'll see you on the other side of the next Tribal Council.
Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure to talk, especially with you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.